Part 12. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hangu. Chapter 118. Hearing the letter from the capital, Xiao Jingzhao picked up a bucket of water and poured it over his head, then grabbed a cotton handkerchief and wrapped it around his waist, and walked out quickly. Xiang Song took the letter from the guard and handed it to Xiao Jingzhao. Xiao Jingzhao quickly opened the wax seal and pulled out a stack of white paper. Xiang Song saw his master put the letter on the desk, picked up a portrait inside and started reading it. Seeing his master looking at the portrait with a smile in his eyes, Xiang Song took a curious peek. On the paper was a portrait of Sui Sui, who was grinning like a boy who distributes money in a New Year picture. The little brat is laughing so happily, he must like life in the capital very much. Xiao Jingzhao didn't care about the water drops on his hair dripping down his strong chest, and pulled out the portrait below to continue reading. As the smile faded, the air in the room became 2 degrees colder. Xiang Song saw that his master's face was like the weather in June, changing at any time. Looking up, I saw the master staring at the painting with frowns, his thin lips pursed into a straight line, and quickly flipping through the remaining paintings. Xiang Song bravely asked, "Master, is there something wrong with the painting?" "Sui Sui is fine, it's this guy who has a problem." The portraits were spread out on the desk. Sui Sui rode on the shoulders of a handsome man, pointing at 2 fighting roosters. Looking over again, Sui Sui held a string of candied haws in one hand and held the man's hand in the other. The 2 were as close as father and son. There was also a scene where the 2 sat in the study and read books together. "Master, I know this man. He is a disciple of the master of Black Dragon Pond Valley. His name is Nangong Ziyu. He robs the rich and helps the poor. He is kind and generous. He also helped refugees in Yan'an. I remember that I have reported it to you." Xiao Jingzhao's face was as dark as ink. He glanced at Xiang Song. "When did you say that he was so close to Sui Sui?" Xiang Song lowered his head. It was all his negligence. He only knew that Nangong Ziyu had the title of thief and that he helped Miss Zhang run errands, but he didn't realize that Master Sui Sui was so dependent on him. "Master, don't worry about him. This man is good friends with Miss Zhang. It's okay for him to be good to Sui Sui. Let's take a look at what important things Miss Zhang said in her letter." Xiao Jingzhao looked at the annoying Nangong Ziyu, and his heart was mixed with mixed feelings. He couldn't tell what it felt like. Especially the word good friends that Xiang Song said, it was harsh no matter how he heard it. He picked up the letter and glanced at it. Seeing that the content was too important, he read it carefully again. He pulled out 3 prescriptions from under the letter, his face darkened. How could she be sure that an epidemic was about to occur? He remembered what she had said to him before she left, that a long drought would inevitably be followed by a long flood, and wouldn't that easily lead to an epidemic? "Xiang Song, hurry up, give orders to people to purchase medicinal materials." "Master, is there going to be a war on the border?" Xiang Song was startled, and to the south of Yan'an was Liang State. If Liang State invaded at this time, the capital would certainly not send a large group of troops to support, and Yan'an's accumulated wealth would be emptied out. "No, we have to deal with the epidemic." Xiang Song ground the ink, and Xiao Jingzhao went back to the room to dry himself and put on his clothes. In order to avoid mistakes, Xiao Jingzhao personally copied more than 10 prescriptions. He handed the copied prescriptions to Xiang Song, distribute them to the county offices, and have people prepare medicinal materials for emergencies. Seeing Xiang Song take the order, Xiao Jingzhao breathed a sigh of relief. If an epidemic really happened, he would save the people at all costs. Water can carry a boat, but it can also overturn it. He had to go to the capital to reunite with his son as soon as possible. He couldn't let that guy continue to take his baby son to play with cats and dogs. "Master, the princess is waiting for you to have lunch in the flower hall. Xiangyang came back and shouted outside. Thinking of the flowers and plants he had sent back to the palace, the haze in Xiao Jingzhao's eyes dissipated. Lunch was moved to the flower hall. It seems that his mother likes the flowers and plants he sent back. After putting away the letter and portrait, Xiao Jingzhao walked quickly to the flower hall. What's going on? When Xiao Jingzhao walked to the corridor, he heard the voices of girls talking, and it seemed that there were more than a few. I just asked someone to tell the princess in front of the hanging flower gate. Xiangyang hurriedly distanced himself from the matter. He knew nothing. Xiao Jingzhao walked forward a little further, looked up, and saw the gauze curtain of the flower hall was blown up by the wind, and the shadows inside were bright and vaguely visible. Master, go ahead, I won't go in. Xiangyang stopped walking wisely. Xiao Jingzhao turned back and glared at Xiangyang. You knew there were guests in the mansion a long time ago. No, I really didn't know anything. Xiangyang shrank his neck guiltily. He didn't admit it. The maid serving at the door of the flower hall had already reported the news of the prince's arrival to the princess. When the princess heard that her second son was back, she said to Aunt Cai, "Go out and take a look, don't let him go back and slip away." When Xiao Jingzhao was thinking about whether to go back, Aunt Cai came out with a smile. "Prince, please come in, the princess has been waiting for you for a while." "Aunt, the flower hall is full of girls, it's not appropriate for me to go in." Xiao Jing hesitated, not because he was afraid of seeing the girls, but because he felt it was really inappropriate for him to go in. "Why not? The girls' banquet is in the hall on the left, and the princess has a separate table on the right, separated by a screen. The flower hall of the palace is very large." Xiao Jingzhao turned around and said to Xiangyang, "Go back to Qinghui courtyard." Xiangyang felt relieved. As soon as his master entered the flower hall, he turned around and ran away. When Xiao Jingzhao walked into the flower hall, the girls who were still chatting and laughing a moment ago fell silent the next moment. The man who came in was tall and slender, with a stunning appearance, black hair, a sharp face, and dark and deep eyes, which showed a hint of coldness, giving people a sense of distance that one can only look at from afar but not approach. The thick sword-like eyebrows, high nose, and beautiful lips were like a finely carved handicraft. Su Hui sat in the corner and looked in the direction of everyone's sight. She was also stunned by the person in front of her. What surprised her was not the perfect and impeccable face, but that Sui Sui was a smaller version of that face. The girls shyly withdrew their eyes after just one glance, and their hearts were beating wildly. Being able to marry a prince who was like a banished immortal was a blessing that had been cultivated for several lifetimes. Some girls secretly prayed in their hearts that the matchmaker would have mercy on them and give them the marriage line. Xiao Jingzhao did not look sideways and walked straight to the screen on the right. "Brother Jingzhao is back." Just when the girls were thinking about different things, a clear and beautiful voice sounded, and Lin Ruyan left the banquet and went over to Xiao Jingzhao to pay a respect. "Brother Jingzhao, long time no see." "Miss Lin, don't be so polite, go back to the table quickly." A group of girls were staring at him, and Xiao Jingzhao didn't want to cause misunderstanding. "Brother Jingzhao, my brother will be back to Yan'an soon." Xiao Jing nodded slightly. "When he comes back, let him come to see me as soon as possible." Xiao Jingzhao had a blank expression and was very frugal with words. The two chatted awkwardly for a few sentences, and Xiao Jingzhao turned and walked behind the screen, and Lin Ruyan had to return to the table in a sullen manner. Everyone with a discerning eye could see that Lin Ruyan would not be the prince's dish. After walking into the screen, Xiao Jingzhao saw that his mother's eyebrows and eyes were smiling. "You are finally back, and your mother has been waiting anxiously." The eldest brother Xiaokang was picking up a chicken leg and putting it in the bowl in front of the second sister. "Mother, big brother. Second brother, you like, Xiao Yun opened her mouth, and Xiaokang quickly covered it with his hand. After being expelled from the palace, She returned with her cup and amazed the whole city. Author, Hangu. Chapter 119. Brother, why don't you let Yuner speak? Xiao Jingzhao sat directly next to his eldest brother and gave his second sister a rare word of justice. Xiao Yun finally broke free from her elder brother's hand. I want to ask the second brother if he likes this chicken drumstick. Yuner asked the second brother to eat it, but the eldest brother won't let me talk today. It's really strange. Xiaokang. Only the princess knew what her eldest son was afraid of. Although the flower hall was large and Xiao Yun's voice was not small, she was afraid that she would say something embarrassing again. The princess looked at Xiao Jingzhao and winked at the side of the screen. Dyer is hosting a banquet for her little sisters today. You are the elder brother, please help me more. I'll have someone send some banknotes to my eldest sister when I get back. Can the palace still be short of Dyer's money? My mother-in-law asked you to. The princess looked at Aunt Cai with a headache. Aunt Cai said with a smile, Your Majesty, you don't have to worry about money, just show up more. Xiao Yunfan rolled her eyes, put her little hands to her lips, and lowered her voice, Second brother, I want you to see if there is a girl you like. Mother, if you wait a little longer, your son will know better. What the mother wants is that you have someone in your heart. What's the use of just knowing it? You can't let me have a grandson. Princess Yanan glared at her two sons. Xiaokang moved to Xiao Yun's side. In the past, the mother-in-law only focused on her second brother, but since her health recovered, the mother-in-law's focus has tended to be biased towards herself. Thinking about the painting of a lady that he had not completed yet, Xiaokang hurriedly took a few bites of food and stood up to leave the table. Big brother, wait a minute, Yuner is full too. Seeing her eldest brother leaving, Xiao Yun couldn't sit still. Sit down and finish the chicken legs. Don't waste food. As soon as Xiao Jingzhao spoke, Xiao Yun sat back down again. Yuner, listen to your second brother. Xiao Yun said, looking at her mother and concubine with aggrieved eyes. The princess raised her chin and said, Eat it. Your second brother is right. Don't waste food. After eating, you can play by yourself. In order to prevent the girls in the flower hall from being restrained, the princess released Xiao Jingzhao back to Qinghui courtyard after lunch. Under Xiao Dai's introduction, the girls got to know each other. The quiet Suhui was loved by everyone. Lin Ruyan took Suhui and talked about everything from poetry to piano scores. Suhui is friendly, and she quickly became familiar with the girls. After the banquet was over, the maids removed the banquet, and Xiao Dai had someone take out the lyre again. The girls showed off their piano skills with great interest. Zhang Xia gave Suhui a lyre before leaving. When she was in Yunling village, she wrote several music scores for Suhui to read. After getting the piano, Suhui studied and practiced diligently every day. The music scores had long been burned into her mind, and her fingering techniques went from unfamiliar to proficient to smooth and flowing. After several lively girls finished playing a few pieces of music, Lin Ruyan took Suhui's hand and said, Miss Su, do you want to play a piece too? Suhui usually didn't interact with girls from aristocratic families. She was afraid that she would be laughed at if she didn't play well, so she refused. No, I'm not good at playing the piano. Miss Su, don't be modest, just play a piece of music. It's rare for us to get together, so let's have a lot of fun together. Xiao Dai also liked Suhui's gentle and elegant temperament. She smiled and stepped forward to pick up a recorder. Miss Su plays the piano, how about I play the flute to accompany you? Xiao Dai personally accompanied her, which was a rare event. The girls all applauded and cheered. It's a great honor to be accompanied by Miss Xiao. If I don't play well, girls, please bear with me. Then I will play Bamboo Branch Ci for everyone. Suhui walked to the piano and sat upright, taking a deep breath in concentration, raising her wrists slightly, and gently plucked the strings with her long and slender fingers, and the melodious sound of the piano sounded. I saw her slender fingers jumping nimbly on the strings, and a tune that was as sweet as the sound of nature poured out from her fingers. The sound of the piano filled the air, and the girls present had never heard such a beautiful melody. Xiao Dai played the accompaniment and suddenly realized that she was not familiar with the melody. The sound of the piano is like a gentle breeze blowing towards your face, refreshing you. It is also like a gurgling mountain stream flowing through your heart. When the song ends, you are still left wanting. Miss Su, if we don't comply, you are hiding your secrets. With such superb piano skills, you actually say that you are not good at playing the piano. That's right, I've never heard such a beautiful tune, and I don't know who composed it. The girls kept talking to each other, and Su Hui showed her attitude of never giving up playing another song. Xiao Dai also smiled and said, Miss Su, this piece of music is unique. I will write down the music score later and let us practice it. After finishing speaking, he said apologetically, that way next time I can really accompany Miss Su. Su Hui responded gracefully, do you still remember the goddess doctor of Jishi Hall? My sister taught me this song. Of course I remember. My brother is studying in Linjiang Academy. It was Miss Zhang who saved the entire academy. No one in Luoyang City knows this. It turns out that Miss Su has an unusual relationship with the miracle doctor, so we need to play another song. The girls all cast envious glances at Su Hui. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Su Hui did not hesitate, raised her jade wrist lightly, and once again amazed the audience with her song Tang Li Jiangxiu. When the music was over, Su Hui wrote down the music score, and the girls each made a copy and took it home to practice. Seeing the girls leave without any satisfaction, Xiao Dai was also very happy. The banquet was a success and she would be more experienced in the future. After seeing everyone off, Xiao Dai took the music score to find her elder brother Xiao Kong. Her elder brother loved playing the zither, so how could he not send him a copy of the good music score? Master, the eldest lady is here. Hearing Xiao Gai's report, Xiao Kong put down his brush. Brother, I got 2 good music scores today. You might as well try them. This tune is unprecedentedly beautiful. Xiao Dai arrived before she saw him. Xiao Kong had never seen his elder sister so anxious before, so he hurriedly shouted, come in, elder sister. He turned back and said to Xiao Gaizi, bring the zither quickly. Even the eldest lady said it was a good music score. It must be really different. When Xiao Dai entered the room, she saw her elder brother sitting next to the small table where he usually played the zither. Xiao Gaizi quickly took the zither and tuned it. Xiao Kong took the music score and read it once, and then asked Xiao Gaizi to put the music score in front of him where he could see it. At the end of the song, Xiao Kong clapped his hands and exclaimed, wonderful. Xiao Dai listened to her elder brother's playing, and the effect was still a little worse than Miss Su's. She said honestly, big brother, you need to practice more. Miss Su's piano playing is more charming. Yes. You need to practice more. The tune of this song is beautiful, but why is there no lyrics? Xiao Dai suddenly realized that she was too busy today and only listened to the beautiful melody, but forgot to ask Miss Su for the lyrics. Big brother, you can also write poems, why don't you write a song yourself? Xiao Dai said and looked at the desk. After just one look, she was stunned. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 120. Isn't the girl in the painting Miss Su? Is my elder brother attracted to Miss Su? Great, my mother asked me to organize today's banquet, and my efforts were not in vain. Xiao Dai suppressed the joy in her heart and said calmly, don't worry, elder brother, You practice first, I will find the person who sent the music score to write the lyrics later, and you can also learn from each other's piano skills. Before Xiaokan could find out who the person who sent the music score was, Xiao Dai had already left quickly. After leaving the elder brother's yard, Xiao Dai couldn't hold back her joy and ran straight to the east courtyard. Dai, are you sure you didn't see it wrong? Is the person your elder brother painted really Miss Su? After hearing the good news from her daughter, Princess Yan Nan couldn't believe it was true. Mother, it is absolutely true. Today, my daughter and Miss Su were the first to arrive at the hall. The background of the painting is also the scene in the hall. My daughter also asked the maids working outside the hall today. They said that when my elder brother came to the flower hall, he walked around the garden and went to the corridor. Oh my! Congratulations, the princess finally got the good news. The eldest young master's love star moved, and Cai on the side was so happy that she was like she was going to marry a daughter-in-law, and she congratulated the princess. Congratulations, princess. There will be a happy event in our palace soon. The maids in the room were all smiling and congratulating the princess. The wish of holding a grandson finally saw the dawn, and the princess was so happy that her eyes were full of smiles. She said to Aunt Cai, "Take silver ingots from my private vault to reward everyone. The maids and servants in the kitchen and the outer courtyard will all get rewards." Xiao Dai added, and said that everyone did their job well at today's banquet without any mistakes. Big brother is introverted, so don't let out the things that haven't been decided yet. The princess looked at her daughter, who was calm and steady, with approval in her eyes. She nodded slightly. Dyer has thought it through, just give it as the eldest lady said. And Cai took the order and left. The princess couldn't wait to grab her daughter's hand. Dyer, invite Miss Su to the palace in a few days. Mother thinks that girl is dignified and virtuous, and she is a girl with excellent family education. I'm afraid mother doesn't know yet. Miss Su is from the capital, her father is a Jinchi, and once held the third rank. If it weren't for a reason, their family would not have drifted to Yan'an, let alone come to Liang. Mother doesn't care what rank her father holds, as long as she and your elder brother are in love, that's enough. I think the day after tomorrow is a good day. You can send a letter to Miss Su separately. Seeing that mother was eager to ask the matchmaker to propose marriage tomorrow, Xiao Dai covered her mouth and laughed secretly. Mother, you are too anxious. Miss Su looks quiet, but she is smart and exquisite. If you are too deliberate, she will be embarrassed. Yes, 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 mother is a little anxious. Your elder brother has intentions, but it depends on whether Miss Su is interested. You should keep it in mind. When you find out Miss Su's intentions one day, mother will ask the matchmaker to prepare generous gifts to propose marriage to the Su family. The princess was overwhelmed by joy. After Xiao Dai reminded her, she felt that she had lost her sense of proportion. A few days passed in a flash. Xiang Song kept receiving news from various counties, and the collection of medicinal materials went smoothly. These days, Xiao Jingzhao was not idle either. He could not watch the epidemic come. He asked the government to spread the news that there might be floods this year to Yan'an, and asked the court doctor to list the precautions for preventing epidemics after floods and compile them into a notice. He personally sent it to Linjiang Academy and asked the headmaster to find a careful and well-written scholar to copy it. Sunan also participated in the copying. Su Yu was the oldest in the academy and was responsible for proofreading. Su Yu sent a stack of accurate notices to the headmaster's study. Seeing Xiao Jingzhao talking to the headmaster in the study, Su Yu bowed, put down the notices and left. When Xiao Jingzhao came out of the headmaster's study, he saw Su Yu still standing in the corridor not far away. Xiao Jingzhao walked over and stopped, his eyes indifferent. Su Yu bowed to him and asked, "Is there an epidemic not far from the capital?" "Not necessarily, it's better to be prepared." "She's fine." Before Su Yu asked, Xiao Jingzhao added. Su Yu lowered his eyes, That's good. Xiao Jingzhao knew that the Su family was thinking about Zhang Shiyu, and this was a comfort to the Su family. Zhang Shiyu only talked about the current situation in the capital and the epidemic in the letter, and did not say a single polite word to him. She didn't bring a letter to the Su family, presumably because she didn't want to trouble herself. Thinking of this, Xiao Jingzhao felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Nangong Ziyu and his son are as close as father and son, so what is his relationship with Zhang Shiyu? Su Yu coughed lightly, and Xiao Jingzhao's thoughts returned. Yan Nan will have the autumn exam soon, you should prepare well. In the past, when Yan Nan and the court had not torn their faces, the scholars who passed the Yan Nan autumn exam would go to the capital to take the imperial examination next year. This year is special. Xiao Jingzhao has his own standards for selecting talents. Whether these scholars will go to the capital to take the exam next year depends on the situation later. After Xiao Jingzhao finished speaking, he stepped forward and left. After leaving the academy, he realized that he seemed to have said too much today. Is this loving the house and the dog? Yes, the Su family is very good to Sui Sui, and it can be regarded as his repayment of the Su family's kindness on behalf of his son. Master, are we going back to the mansion? Xiang Yang asked. No, go to the government office. After arriving at the government office, Xiao Jingzhao had someone quickly deliver the notice about epidemic prevention. Xiao Jingzhao's efforts were not in vain. After the notice on epidemic prevention and precautions was sent out, when the county magistrates learned that the prescription came from Yan'an, they all took it very seriously and copied it one after another. Everyone spread it by word of mouth and ran around to tell each other. Soon it spread throughout the whole Wanling kingdom. A few days later, Xiao Jingzhao was handling official business in the study. When he was tired, he took out the portrait of Sui Sui and looked at it again. In order to reunite with his son as soon as possible, he would not hesitate to stay up all night. The sun was shining outside the window. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and the sky was covered with dark clouds. Large dark clouds floated over the palace like thousands of troops. A gust of wind from the door rolled the paper on the desk out of the window and scattered it all over the floor. Xiao Jingzhao put down his pen and ink and hurriedly chased out. Xiang Song, who was sent out to deliver the message, had not returned yet. Xiang Yang hurriedly closed the window and chased out. The master and servant ran after the flying papers in the yard. At this time, a man in his early 20s walked in from outside. The man was wearing a light green cloud satin brocade, with handsome features and a smile on his face, exuding nobleness and a bit of unruly. Prince. Xiao Jingzhao heard the shout, stopped and turned around, and waved to the man. Xiangji, you finally decided to come back. Help me, there are important things in it, and I can't lose any of them. What is more important than me? Lin Xiangji muttered, and his body was still honestly chasing the paper that was blown up by the wind. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 121. The three of them quickly picked up the papers in the yard. Xiao Jingzhao didn't even have time to count them, so he hurriedly put them in the drawer. Lin Xiangji sat down in the armchair on the side of the desk and leaned back lazily. He turned to Xiang Yang and said, the gift for the crown prince is at the butler's place. Go over and help the crown prince get it. Master Lin has brought something good for the prince again. I'm going to take a look. Before Xiao Jingzhao could say anything, Xiang Yang said happily and ran out in a hurry. Xiao Jingzhao glanced at Lin Xiangji and poured him a cup of herbal tea with his own hands. Lin Xiangji took the tea, with a hint of joking in his eyes. I haven't seen you for a long time, and I haven't seen you being affectionate to me. At least we have slept on the same bed. Go, he's already a very old man. He's not in shape either. Xiao Jingzhao threw the knife away with a glance, and Lin Xiangji glanced at the drawer in front of him confidently. Why did you pick out the portraits just now? and then hid them after you picked them up? What did you do while I was away? Shameful things. It was dark when you came back, and you brought the wind and rain with you. It made my house a mess. Tell me, what weird things have you seen this time? Xiao Jingzhao was not angry and tried to change the subject. Lin Xiangji looked at Xiao Jingzhao with a half smile but shook his head. There are not many strange things, but there are quite a lot of rumors about the prince outside. Tell me, what exactly are you going to do? What do you need me to do? Lin Xiangji leaned forward. The two of them have been playing together since they were little, and they can see through each other's glances and small movements. Xiao Jingzhao smiled and said nothing until Lin Xiangji sat back, picked up the teacup and took a sip. Xiao Jingzhao said calmly, "It's not a big deal. The emperor is fatuous and incompetent. I just plan to usurp the throne." Puff. Ahem, cough, cough. Jingzhao, are you kidding? Lin Xiangji put down the teacup, touched his chest and coughed for a while, and asked with a red neck. You see, I'm joking. Xiao Jingzhao pointed outside and raised his eyebrows narrowly. Do you want to go to the capital to expose my prince's treasonous intentions? Lin Xiangji quickly calmed down his breathing and glared at Xiao Jingzhao. Do you still regard me as your brother? Is that what humans do? The emperor is incompetent and the people are living in poverty. I followed my uncle's caravan to travel all over the country, but the people are living a good life. No matter how difficult it is, I see no less than you. What you are doing is not treason, but reviving the imperial court. Do you still remember the imperial edict we saw in the prince's study when we were 10 years old? Of course Xiao Jingzhao remembered that when he was 10 years old, he was detained by his father in the study room to read policy discussions. In order to accompany him, Lin Xiangji stayed in the study room for half a day. Lin Xiangji didn't need to read the policy. After the prince left, he felt around here and there in the study and found a gap in the wall of the bookcase. At that time, he also laughed at whether the prince was hiding his personal money in the study. The two were curious, so they pushed open the bookcase and took a look, and saw a hidden compartment behind the bookcase. Xiao Jingzhao opened the secret compartment and saw the imperial edict left by Emperor Renzong. This matter became a secret shared by both of them. Until now, King Yannan did not know that Xiao Jingzhao had seen the imperial edict. The veterans of the imperial court knew about the existence of the imperial edict, but only few people had seen it. Some people's speculation is groundless, but some people believe that Emperor Renzong has the courage to break the cauldron and sink the boat. Jingzhao, tell me, what do you need me to do? You want to achieve great things, how can I stay out of it? Lin Xiangji's calm reaction surprised Xiao Jingzhao. Aren't you afraid of being implicated? Lin Xiangji lifted his robe, raised his left leg, lifted Erlang's legs and shook them. He blinked at Xiao Jingzhao with a cynical look. What am I afraid of? I made a mistake in my reincarnation in this life and chose a male body. I will not be able to share the quilt with you in life or the same hole in death. But I can do an earth-shattering event with you. In contrast, die without regrets. You. Quite loyal, Xiao Jingzhao said through gritted teeth. Originally, he was completely moved by his words, but this guy's words about we can't live in the same quilt, and we can't live in the same acupuncture point in death gave him goosebumps all over his body. Of course, it doesn't matter which one of us follows which. If I were a girl, in this life I would. Shut up. Tomorrow I will ask your father to find a match for you. Xiao Jingzhao could no longer stand the disgusting words coming out of his mouth. Jingzhao, you can't be so heartless. When I came back, I only went home to take a shower and change my clothes before coming to see you. How could you push me into someone else's arms? I'm still hungry. Xiao Jingzhao glared at him angrily, and quickly called the boy and ordered, go and ask the kitchen to cook some good dishes, and then go to the cellar to get the jar of peach blossom wine. Lin Xiangji smiled and said, Jingzhao is the best to me. Lin Xiangji is handsome and not very good at drinking, but he likes to drink peach blossom wine with sweetness. There is only the last jar of 5-year-old peach blossom brew left. I am busy with the refugee issues this year, so I won't let anyone brew it anymore. You should save some for a while. Lin Xiangji. This person is not easy to get along with. The wine has not even been served yet, so he limits it first. You just mentioned that you want to share adversity with me. I really have one thing for you to do, and only you can do it. Lin Xiangji put away his playful smile and sat up straight. Tell me, as long as the prince needs me, I will go through fire and water without hesitation. Go to Liang State to buy grain, buy as much as you can, and take my seal to Wantung Bank to withdraw the silver, Xiao Jingzhao said as he opened the drawer and took out a black jade seal from it. Lin Xiangji thought of what he heard on the road, that there might be floods and epidemics in Wanling State, and the notices passed down by Xiao Jingzhao. He didn't ask the reason, patted his thin chest. I'll take care of this matter. As for the silver, I don't need it for now. If I really need it, I'll ask you for it later. The prince wants to achieve great things, and his uncle is a wealthy businessman, so this opportunity to hold his thigh must be given to his uncle. Lin Xiangji's uncle. Thank you. Lin Xiangji thought in his heart, but didn't say it out loud. Lin Xiangji pushed the black jade seal back, and Xiao Jingzhao took it without hesitation. Master, look at what good things Mr. Lin has brought you. Xiang Yang came in with a wooden box with a big smile on his face. Xiao Jingzhao looked at Lin Xiangji. What's inside? The last time Lin Xiangji went to Liang State, he brought back several pieces of jade and some furs, and brought gifts to the women in the palace. Lin Xiangji raised his chin and smiled. This time I went to Nanzhao State and found some rare medicinal materials for the eldest son. I brought Nanzhao's Tianxiang Yunwujin for the princess and the ladies. This is your portion. You can see it for yourself. Xiao Jingzhao opened the wooden box with his own hands, and saw a whole box of black and red. What are these? Why don't I recognize any of them? After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cup and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 122. Lin Xiangji couldn't help laughing and said, they are all tonics. These are all dried medicinal materials. You should know some of them. Forged dragon bone, Morinda officinalis, seahorse. You should know this tiger stick. Lin Xiangji picked up a long thing like a dry stick. What is a tiger stick? Xiao Jingzhao wondered how this guy could give him tonics. He was fine, so he didn't need to take any tonics. Master, I understand that this is a tiger whip. It is a great aphrodisiac, but it is hard to find. As if his hands were burned by fire, Xiao Jingzhao let go and closed the wooden box. Xiang Yang held back his laughter and said with great discernment, these are some precious medicinal materials. I will take them to the warehouse. Xiang Yang raised a dagger in his hand and shook it. Thank you, Mr. Lin. This dagger is very sharp. I like it very much. We are our own family, you're welcome, just like it. You and Xiang Song are both good for self-defense. Lin Xiangji smiled and waved his hand. Xiao Jingzhao turned around and said to Lin Xiangji, you think I am 70 or 80 years old, and I have given you tonic. Seeing Xiang Yang carrying the wooden box out, Lin Xiangji said seriously, Jingzhao, you are the eldest son, and it is inevitable that you will have 3 wives and 4 concubines in the future. Well, I can't help you. I can only give you these supplements to help you. You should try your best to get even rain and dew in your backyard. Xiao Jingzhao. I thank you. Xiao Jingzhao couldn't blame his friend for bringing things back for him from such a far-away place. That handsome face turned red and black, dark and red again. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became weird. Fortunately, the boy and several maids brought the food in time to break the weird atmosphere. After a cup of peach blossoms, Lin Xiangji started talking. The customs of Nanzhao Kingdom, What are its special products, and what rumors about the royal family there have among the people? Lin Xiangji was really hungry. After he and Xiao Jingzhao drank a glass of wine, they ate vegetables. Eat slowly, so as not to upset your stomach again later. Every time Lin Xiangji came back from a trip, he said that he couldn't eat on time when he was out. Sometimes he would go to a place without a village or a shop and just eat dry food to satisfy his hunger. Xiao Jingzhao served him a bowl of white jade black chicken soup. He looked at his best friend's handsome cheeks, which were a little darker than before. Xiao Jingzhao picked up the wine glass and took a sip and said, "This time when you come back from Liangguo, don't run out all the time. Come with me to the capital. You are not bad at reading and are good at managing money. As long as I can sit on that position, you will be in charge of the treasury for me." Lin Xianzi took the soup and drank it in one gulp. "Looking at you as a big cake painter, the prince is still young, so I'm afraid it's not your turn to take the position. My father said that my mother-in-law would definitely not let him sit in that position, and he didn't want to worry about it. My eldest brother has no intention of doing this, so I can only work hard for myself." Prime Minister Lin understood. The prince promised the princess not to take concubines for life. If she takes that position, she will inevitably have a harem of 3,000 beauties. This important task can only be shouldered by the prince. Lin Xiangji took a mouthful of rice and said vaguely, "It seems I sent it right. As long as you think it's good, I'm worried that you won't go to the capital with me." Xiao Jingzhao didn't understand what Lin Xiangji said and thought he was happy to go to the capital. Lin Xiangji ate half full in one breath. At this moment, Xiang Yang also came back. He picked up the wine jar and filled a glass of wine for his master and Mr. Lin. "Did you know, Jingzhao? The most favored concubine of the Liang royal family is the princess of Nanzhao." Xiao Jingzhao looked indifferently, picked up the wine glass and raised it slightly to signal Lin Xiangji to raise the glass. The marriage between the two countries is not limited to Liang and Nanzhao. During the period of Emperor Renzong, Liang also sent his princess to Wanling for marriage after losing the war. Lin Xiangji raised his glass and took a sip of peach blossom wine, and said with a gossipy face, "That's different. I heard that the princess of Nanzhao Kingdom was so powerful that she killed the legitimate prince born to Queen Liang Kingdom alive. The Emperor of Liang will not punish her." This is the first time Xiao Jingzhao has heard of such a shocking story of palace fighting. Lin Xianzi spread his hands. "Liang Qiahuang has no evidence. Some people say that the young prince is living in Wanling Kingdom. Some people say that Princess Nanzhao sent people to kidnap the prince during the chaos. In short, there is anything." Xiao Jingzhao smiled and said, "You are almost catching up with the storyteller. How can a prince of a country be lost so easily? I also heard someone talk about it in a wine shop on the border of Nanzhao. As for whether it is true, I will find out more carefully when I go to Liang State to buy food this time." Seeing Lin Xianzi gossiping like a girl, Xiao Jingzhao couldn't help but tease him, "If the Prince of Liang is really in Wanling, I will dig 3 feet under the ground to find him. Your Majesty is far-sighted and admires me. If the legitimate prince of the Liang Kingdom really wanders to Wanling and we find him, the relationship between the Liang Kingdom and Wanling will be extraordinary. In the future, the two countries will have good relations and avoid wars bitter." Looking at Lin Xiangji's serious look, Xiao Jingzhao couldn't even tell that it was just a joke. After drinking and eating, the two chatted for a long time. It was not until night fell and drizzle began to fall in the sky that Lin Xiangji stood up to say goodbye. Xiao Jingzhao personally escorted him out of the palace. Before getting on the carriage, Xiao Jingzhao told him, "You can rest at home for a few more days before setting off. Don't worry, Your Majesty, I will be ready to set off in 3 days at most." Lin Xiangji walked up to the carriage and turned around and waved, "Take care, see you later." After sending Lin Xianzi away, Xiao Jingzhao quickly returned to the study to take stock of the things swept away by the wind. It doesn't matter if it's clear, There's one missing portrait in it, and it's still the one of a person smiling the happiest in Sushui. He asks Yang Yang to call the secret guards, and a group of people searched the yard and even the tree tops, but there was still no trace of the portrait. 3 days later, Lin Xianzi quietly left Liang City for Liang State with a group of troops. Xiao Jingzhao received news that several counties in Wanling Kingdom had suffered a once-in-a-century flood. Due to the precautionary notices from Yan'an, when heavy rain hit, people retreated to higher ground. Farmland was washed away and poultry was flooded. Fortunately, the casualties were not serious. There was only light rain in Yan'an, and the people were not hit by the heavy rain. Xiao Jingzhao arranged for secret guards to guard the palace, and took Xiang Yang and Xiang Song to the military camp to deploy the next plan. In the palace, Xiao Yun was fascinated by a portrait. She pouted and muttered to herself, "It's so strange. Why did this painting fall from the sky? Is this what I looked like when I was a child? Why does it look like a boy?" Xiao Yun's personal maid Jing'er tilted her head and shook her head and said, "I think this is a portrait of the prince when he was a child. It makes sense. This portrait should have floated out of the second brother's courtyard." 3 days ago, Xiao Yun was craving for flower cakes and took her maid to the garden to pick flowers. Unexpectedly, a piece of paper fell from the sky and landed squarely on her head. On the other side of the garden is the second brother's Qinghui courtyard. "Miss, the princess asked you to practice painting. I think it is easier to draw a child's portrait than to copy the young master's landscape painting. Why don't you try to copy this painting?" Xiao Yun gave Jing'er a thumbs up. "What a good idea. I'll show it to my mother and concubine after I draw it decently." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 123. Beijing. Since the rainstorm, the autumn in Beijing has gradually deepened. News of the flood kept coming into the palace. The emperor waved his hand and said, "It's been a long drought and it's raining. Not many people died. Why panic? Pass my order down and let the officials in various places find ways to dredge the river and let the flood drain." The ministers were overwhelmed. The drought was followed by floods, and this year's tax silver could not be collected. Floods are like beasts. The emperor said lightly that it was a long drought and it was raining. He passed by the disaster lightly. A minister of the Ministry of Revenue bravely advised, "Your Majesty, dredging the river can't save the farmland that has been washed away. I'm afraid it will be difficult to collect taxes this year." A minister echoed, "That makes sense. Discharging the flood will also cause disasters to the downstream, and I'm afraid it will be difficult to collect taxes downstream." Seeing that the emperor didn't mention disaster relief at all, the prime minister simply lowered his eyes and looked at his nose, and turned a deaf ear to it. The treasury was empty. If it came to disaster relief, the emperor would definitely ask the ministers to deduct donations from their salaries. This was not the first time. When it came to taxes, the emperor was so angry that he said, "Let the prime minister handle this matter." He left angrily with a flick of his sleeves. In the hall, the ministers were left looking at each other in bewilderment. The prime minister shook his head, "A good cook cannot cook without rice, and I am powerless." The emperor could not hear this. Facing the inquiring eyes of the ministers, the prime minister spread his hands and said, "Don't look at me, everyone has their own duties, do what they should do." The heavy rain for several days smashed the petals of the imperial garden into pieces. The temperature dropped sharply. In the pepper room, the queen, who was able to walk on the ground, fell ill again. A group of imperial doctors hurried to the harem. "Hurry up and report to the emperor, the queen is dying." After taking the pulse, the imperial physician could hardly feel the pulse. Seeing the dying queen breathing out more than breathing in, he shouted to the maid beside him. "Sir, take a closer look. The queen had eaten a bowl of bird's nest at noon. How could she die?" The housekeeper of the Pepper Room Palace couldn't believe it. The queen was obviously getting better, so how could she die after a short rest? The imperial physician in front withdrew, and the imperial physician behind also knelt in front of the couch to take the pulse. Every imperial physician looked ashen. When the last imperial physician came forward to take the pulse, he heard a sound from the queen's throat. The imperial physician was so scared that he trembled and picked up a needle and put it in the queen's nose. The feather did not move at all. "The queen has passed away." Instantly, the Pepper Room Palace was in chaos. When the emperor heard the news, he was only slightly stunned, without any sadness on his face. According to the rules of Wanling Kingdom, there is no need to ring the funeral bell for those who died early in the harem. The Prime Minister's mansion learned about the Queen's death the next day. Madame Wei fainted several times after learning about her daughter's death. If the Emperor had shown more compassion to Rziu, how could she die early? Madame Wei was extremely sad. She pulled Prime Minister Wei's sleeve and cried, "Madam, please be patient. Yu is gone, and the Wei family has no one to rely on. I still have to preside over the funeral. Madam, please restrain your family and don't be arrogant outside in the future. I'm afraid that the world will change." Madame Wei disagreed. The Wei family is a big family with deep roots. Is the Emperor going to take off your official hat so soon? Prime Minister Wei shook his head. The woman was short-sighted. He was depressed and had nowhere to speak. Prime Minister Wei had heard about the court ministers talking about King Yan'an in private, and he saw the emperors in action. The treasury was not full, the emperor was living a life of drunkenness and not caring about state affairs, Wanling state was in turmoil, and the funeral of the queen was simple. The monks of Qinglian Temple performed a 7-day ritual in the palace and then hurriedly sent it to the imperial mausoleum. "Madam, people are talking outside, saying that the queen was killed by the emperor." The maid in Madame Wei's room was calm and taciturn. She went out of the mansion today and came back to report to Madame Wei what she heard outside. "I don't know where the wind came from, but the rumor that the emperor killed the queen for a new favorite quietly spread in the capital." Madame Wei felt a chill down her spine. She knew what kind of person the emperor was, and there were countless wronged souls in the harem, so it was not surprising to have another queen. She could do nothing except cry again. In Zhang Mansion, Zhang Xiu heard the news of the queen's death and thought that Lin Miaoxiao would leave the palace next, but in a blink of an eye, 7 or 8 days had passed and he didn't leave the palace. "Miss, there are rumors that the queen died in a strange way." Kyoja came in with a bowl of lotus seed soup. Zhang Xiu was slightly stunned. "What do you mean by this? Has Lin Miaoxiao been discovered? I heard from Mayor that it has spread in the capital, saying that the emperor is clearing obstacles for the new concubines." Zhang Xiu took the lotus seed soup. "Go and see what Master Nangong is busy with. If he is free, please ask him to come and sit. The clinic is already well known in the capital." Zhang Xiu is busy like a top every day, and there are a lot of unspeakable things in her heart. Qiuju was dry, and she had a pimple at the corner of her mouth. After drinking lotus seed soup for 2 days in a row, she finally got better. Kyoju was secretly happy, thinking that the young lady had seen Master Nangong's recovery. Nangong Ziyu went out early and came back late every day. After finishing his own affairs, he would pick up Sushui to the private school every day without fail. Kyoju smiled and walked out quickly. A moment later, Nangong Ziyu followed Kyoju in. Zhang Xiu asked, "Would you like some lotus seed soup?" Before Nangong Ziyu could answer, she said to Kyoju, "Give Master Nangong a bowl as well, and bring in some side dishes." "Hey! I'll go right away." Kyoju smiled and left. Nangong Ziyu walked straight to Zhang Xiu and sat down. He heard the sound of the bead curtain and Kyoju's footsteps going away. Nangong Ziyu looked at Zhang Shuyu steadily. Are you looking for me because of my uncle? Nangong Ziyu went straight to the point. He and Zhang Shuyu have lived under the same roof for some time, and they know each other's character very well. Nangong Ziyu even knows what Zhang Shuyu likes and dislikes. She is worried about the safety of her uncle, and he understands it. Ask your brothers tomorrow if Uncle Lin has left the palace. I have been to the medicine shop on Huanhua Street twice. My brothers said they will notify me if there is any news about my uncle, Nangong Ziyu said as he took the teacup and poured a cup of tea. Seeing Zhang Shuyu frowning slightly, Nangong Ziyu teased, my uncle is the reincarnation of a nine-tailed fox. He has 9 lives, so don't worry about him. You should worry more about yourself. When I went to Huanhua Street yesterday, I heard from my senior brother that people in the flooded areas have vomited and had diarrhea. You come into contact with so many patients every day, don't be infected by the disease. Zhang Shuyu was shocked. Are you saying that there is an epidemic? My senior brother said that all the medicinal materials he wanted were bought by others, and they didn't even enter the capital. There should be an epidemic. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 124. Zhang Shuyu frowned even more tightly. Xiao Jingzhao did so much for the people, but in the end the epidemic came as expected. What other preparations had he made? Is the current epidemic prescription as effective as she thought? Xiao Jingzhao should be arriving in the capital soon, right? There were so many things she wanted to know, so much that she wished she could grow a pair of wings out of thin air and fly out of the capital to see for herself. A bunch of candlelight reflected on her delicate cheeks, and a strand of black hair hung down from her forehead and fell on her white neck, adding a bit of charm, making people unable to look away. Nangong Ziyu suppressed the emotions in her eyes and looked away at the teacup in her hand. I heard that the emperor has ordered that refugees are not allowed to enter Beijing. There are also businessmen coming in and out. If anyone with symptoms of the epidemic goes to the hospital for treatment, be careful. A little. The people who come to Jishi Hall are all women from the back house. They should be safe for the time being. Zhang Shuyu raised her hand and moved a strand of hair hanging down from her forehead behind her ears, and smiled lightly at Nangong Ziyu. What are you worried about? Are you afraid that he will come to the capital to snatch your child from you? Nangong Ziyu glimpsed the uneasiness in her heart. Zhang Shuyu shook her head. I didn't think too much about it. As long as Sushui grows up happily and healthily, I don't mind living with him occasionally. There were many rumors about Prince Yan'an, and Nangong Ziyu vaguely smelled something different. Even the storytellers in the capital were telling his stories, and the people were looking forward to him raising troops to the capital. The atmosphere in the room was a little heavy. Nangong Ziyu raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, I heard that the Zhen University scholar's family has sent gifts again. Ms. Zhen's headache has improved after using the prescription I gave her. She specially asked the real housekeeper to send sweet-scented Osman thus cakes. The chef at Zhen's family makes really good cakes. I asked Lanner to send them to you. I've tried it too. Is it better than what's sold on the street? It's okay. I'll go to Renyazi another day and take a look. If I can find a good cook, I'll buy 2 more. All the cakes Lanner sent to Nangong Ziyu's courtyard went into Sushui's stomach, but Nangong Ziyu didn't taste any of them. Seeing that Zhang Shuyu was not aware of the Zhen family's enthusiastic intentions, Nangong Ziyu was not in a position to tell the truth. Zhang Shuyu practiced the kung fu called yoga every morning. Her skin was white and tender, and her figure was like a virgin. Nangong Ziyu knew clearly from the outside that it was only a matter of time before the real family came to propose marriage. At this time, Xiao Jingzhao was heading to the capital with tens of thousands of troops, food, and medicinal materials. Along the way, wherever he went, he sought interviews with the county magistrate. When the miserable county magistrates and local officials saw him, it was as if they had seen a savior, and they all surrendered and surrendered. He distributed the medicines he had hoarded to places where epidemics occurred. With the medicinal materials and prescriptions he distributed, the epidemic was quickly brought under control. The large group of people arrived in the capital unimpeded. When the city guards saw the large group of people coming to the city gate, they shouted in surprise and were about to close the city gate. The heavy city gate had just been half closed when a group of people rushed out from nowhere and quickly controlled the city guards. The crowd was in a commotion, and someone shouted, "We don't need such a king who is incompetent, extravagant, only cares about pleasure, indulges in wealth, ignores government affairs, and makes the people miserable. Yes. We don't want such a king." The crowd suddenly stopped panicking. Someone shouted, "The Crown Prince of Yan'an came to Beijing according to the imperial edict of Emperor Renzong to revive the imperial court and greet the Crown Prince respectfully. Congratulations to the Crown Prince." Suddenly, the shouts were loud. The city guards were controlled. The soldiers on the city wall held bows in their hands and pointed them at the people pouring into the city. They didn't know where to start. The people who enter the city are all dressed as ordinary people. If the arrows in their hands are shot out, they will be the ones who die without a burial place. When they saw clearly that there was an extraordinary man in the crowd, they felt a slight chill on their necks, and there was a scolding from behind them. "Put down your arrows and surrender to the Crown Prince. Your positions remain unchanged. If there is any resistance, we will kill them without mercy." A group of people descended from the sky with swords in their hands. When he turned around, the cold sword was already placed on his neck. Seeing that the situation was over, the soldiers guarding the city had no intention of resisting, so they simply put down their bows and raised their hands. On horseback, Xiao Jingzhao was wearing a black outfit and a gold-trimmed cloak. His dark hair was tied high, his eyebrows were straight, and his phoenix eyes contained a sharp light. Under the admiring eyes of the people, he was surrounded by a group of people and walked slowly towards the palace. Thin lips pursed lightly, handsome features with sharp edges, tall but not rugged figure, sitting on horseback with a heroic appearance. Wherever he went, people knelt down and worshipped, "Welcome the Crown Prince." Xiao Jingzhao gave instructions to the people beside him, and the guard led a group of people and ran forward. In the backyard of the medical center, a loud cry of a baby could be heard. The woman waiting outside the delivery room clasped her hands together and said piously, "God bless me, my eldest grandson has finally landed." After a while, Zhang Xue came out of the delivery room, and the female doctor behind her carried the mother and child to the next room. She glanced at the woman at the door indifferently and said, "Congratulations, madam, mother and daughter are safe. Didn't she say she was pregnant with a son?" Zhang Xue frowned slightly. "Today, the mother's child is in an abnormal fetal position. If she gives birth at home, she will definitely die, maybe 1 or 2. The mother-in-law heard that there was a female medical center in the capital. She lied that the doctor told her that she was carrying a baby boy, so she coaxed her mother-in-law to send her to the medical center." Seeing the woman's disgust, Zhang Xue said, "A woman giving birth is like a farmer planting melons. The beans you plant are just beans, don't expect to get melons. Whether you give birth to a boy or a girl is determined by the man. Talking about science with the ancients is like playing the lute to a cow." Zhang Xue can only use easy-to-understand words to make a metaphor. As for whether the woman can understand it or pretends not to understand it, it is not her business. The parturient should not be moved within 3 days. You can leave a maid to serve or hire a female doctor to take care of her. It's up to you. Seeing that the woman was wearing gold and silver, she must have money at home. If she wants her female doctor to take care of her, she will have to charge her extra. No need. It's not that delicate to give birth to a girl. Just leave the maid in her room to serve her here." The woman had a dark face and led the maid in her room away. In this era of male superiority and female inferiority, there are countless such mothers-in-law, and Zhang Xiu is no longer surprised. Although she wanted to argue with the woman, she was a woman, why did she look down on women? Think about this bad era, forget it, what if she argued? Women have too little room to survive. At this time, Kyoja came in from outside. She walked to Zhang Xiu and lowered her voice, "Miss, the prince has entered the capital." Zhang Xiu's eyes lit up, and she asked hurriedly, "Where did he go? Did he encounter any obstacles?" "I heard that a large group of people went to the palace gate, and the people knelt down to welcome them. Just now, the guards announced along the street, asking everyone to close the door and not go out. I guess the prince is afraid that the emperor will jump over the wall and hurt innocent people. Miss, don't go out, I will go and close the door of the clinic immediately." Kyoja saw the lady walking out and hurriedly chased after her. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 125. After hearing the news, Gao Mu and Kanyun came to the hospital in advance. "Miss, there are royal guards in the palace. There will definitely be a fierce battle tonight. Is this my subordinate going to send you all back?" Gao Mu suggested. "The emperor has lost all the people's support, but the royal guards in his hands are loyal dogs. It is not easy for Xiao Jingzhao to enter the palace." Thinking that there would be a curfew in the capital tonight, Zhang Xiu quickly ordered Qiuju, leave Yin Qiao and Ding Xiang to take care of the pregnant women in the hospital, and send the rest back. The mother-in-law also had 2 personal maids. Yin Qiao and Ding Xiang were left behind to deal with emergencies. Yin Qiao and Ding Xiang had delivered no fewer than 10 babies with Zhang Xiu, and they knew much more about postpartum care than other female doctors. There is enough food in the kitchen behind the hospital to feed several people for 2 days. When the carriage walked to the street, they saw people rushing on the road, and the shops on both sides of the street were closed. Kanyun drove a carriage to send the other medical girls back, and Gao Mu drove another carriage back to his home. After getting on the carriage, Zhang Xiu glanced at the street and lowered the curtain. She put her hands on her knees and shook them subconsciously. The young master should be very safe in the private school. People coming from the city gate are talking about it, saying that the prince has brought tens of thousands of soldiers into the city, many of whom are ordinary people. Yeah, got it? Back at the house, Zhang Xiu said to Qiuju, "Hurry and see if Mr. Nangong and Sui Sui have returned home." Nangong Ziyu and Sushui didn't go through the front door when they came in or out, and the concierge didn't know if they were coming back. Qiuju jumped off the carriage and walked quickly towards the hanging flower gate. Zhang Xiu raised her head and looked at the sky. The sun gradually went down, and the sunset dyed the clouds on the horizon red, leaving only a trace of afterglow in an instant. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night. Miss, go in first, and my subordinate will go out to find out the news later. Gao Mu seemed to understand Zhang Xiu's anxiety and asked proactively. When Kanyun comes back, you two should go together. Don't get too close to avoid being accidentally injured. When Zhang Xiu returned to the courtyard, she saw Nangong Ziyu and Sushui sitting in the flower hall playing chess. You guys came back very early today. Nangong Ziyu stopped in mid-air with the chess piece in his hand. He raised his eyes and looked at Zhang Xiu. I heard that he entered the city and came back immediately. Seeing Zhang Xiu coming back in Sui Sui, he put down the chess pieces in his hand and ran over. She happily hugged Zhang Xiu's legs and said, "Mom, Daddy has brought troops to the capital. Can we see Daddy tomorrow?" Zhang Xiu knelt down and stroked her son's rosy little face, and said gently, "Not tomorrow. Your father should be very busy. When he stops being busy, he will naturally come to see you." "Mom, do you want to see Daddy?" I'm busy too." Seeing a look of discomfort flash across Zhang Xiu's face, Nangong Ziyu knocked on the table, coughed lightly and said, "Sui Sui, are you losing this game?" "I won't lose. Uncle, don't cheat. I will definitely win 2 games today." You guys keep playing, I'll go back to the house and change my clothes. Miss, someone from the Zhen family is here. The real housekeeper and master son of the Zhen family are waiting to see you in the hall. They said they have something important to tell you. As soon as Zhang Shuyu walked out of the flower hall, she saw Lana running in. Master son from the real family. What is he doing here? My slave doesn't know either. Lana shook her head. If that man hadn't come with the real butler, she wouldn't know who the man was. Zhang Shuyu went to the hall without having time to change her clothes. I, Zhen Jingxiu, have taken the liberty of visiting me. Please don't blame Miss Zhang. Seeing Zhang Shuyu, Zhen Jingxiu stood up quickly, bowed his hands politely towards Zhang Shuyu, and showed an apologetic smile. Zhen Jingxiu is dressed in a light blue cloud satin brocade, with a tall and slim figure. The scenery is bright and full of moonlight, with orchids and jade trees. His whole body exudes the elegance unique to a scholar. He has the spirit of poetry and calligraphy in his belly, which means he has such magnanimity. There was a gentle and polite smile on his lips. Zhang Shuyu replied with a gift, "Young master, come here at this time." "What can I do, madam?" Given Zhang Shuyu's professional habits, she really couldn't think of anything else that the Zhen family would come to see her about with something important at this time. "It may not be peaceful tonight. Grandma is worried about your safety, so she specially sent Jing Xiu to invite the girl to come over and take shelter. The Song family's imperial power is gone, and she is afraid that he will jump over the wall and hurt innocent people." "Thank you, madam, for your concern. There are many servants in the house, and I can't leave you all alone." Zhang Shuyu was deeply moved, saying that a friend in need is a friend indeed, and it was commendable that the old madam still thought about her safety at this critical moment. Zhen Jingxiu was slightly startled. He didn't expect that the seemingly fragile girl would be so generous and bold. At this moment of great turmoil, she was still thinking about the servants in the house. The real housekeeper interjected, "The girl doesn't trust the people in the house. I brought some people from the real house to help take care of her." "Thank you, true housekeeper. If the situation outside is not stable for a moment, I will stay closed. This place is still a little far away from the palace gate, so it should be safe." Zhang Shuyu refused with a smile. She raised her head and saw that the dusk was getting darker, and said to Zhen Jing, "It's getting late, young master, please go back. Please thank the old lady for thinking about her on behalf of my daughter. When the situation calms down, Shuyu will come to visit her again." Zhen Jingxiu had never dealt with a woman before, and he was full of knowledge but could not find the right words to say to impress Zhang Shuyu. Seeing that Zhang Shuyu had her own ideas, the real housekeeper bowed and said, "Miss, please close the door. No matter who knocks, don't open the door. The old slave will also send someone to watch here in the study." Zhang Shuyu personally sent Zhen Jingxiu and his servant to the gate. After saying goodbye, she told the doorman to close the gate. Zhen Jingxiu left the Zhang mansion, and the charming figure lingered in her mind. I had seen her from a distance in the past, but now I know that the words praising women's beauty in the book are tailor-made for her. "Master Zhen, send more people to watch the Zhang mansion tonight, and don't let anyone disturb Miss Zhang," Zhen Jingxiu said and looked back at the gate of the Zhang mansion. "Master, don't worry, I will stay up all night to protect the Zhang mansion. Master, Miss Zhang is very polite. If Madam comes to invite you, maybe it will work." What the housekeeper Zhen said makes sense. Zhen Jingxiu looked into the distance and said lightly, "Father and mother have been traveling for more than half a year. I believe they will go home during the new year. Who to send to invite? Madam Zhen has other intentions." Zhen Jingxiu feels that his family is not sincere enough to send only servants. After sending Zhen Jingxiu away, Zhang Shuyu returned to her room, changed her clothes, and went into the space to prepare some medicine powder. "Each of you take a packet. If someone breaks into the mansion, sprinkle the powder on the other person, then hold your breath and squat down. This thing won't kill anyone. It can make the other person unconscious in a short time. Even if you accidentally inhale it, it won't be a big deal. The atmosphere in the whole mansion was very tense, and everyone was on high alert. Zhang Shiyu thought that if the person in the palace was forced into a corner and made a desperate bet, it would not affect here, but when Zhen Jingxiu came, she was unsure. After explaining, she turned back to the backyard. At this time, two figures flew in from the top of the wall as lightly as flying swallows. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 126. Hearing a slight sound of landing behind her, Zhang Shiyu turned around and saw Gao Mu and Ken Yun bowing. Miss, the prince's people and the Jinyue have already started fighting. How many Jinyue are there? Zhang Shiyu's heart tightened. The Jinyue in the hands of the emperor were formally trained and selected from many soldiers. Most of the people brought by Xiao Jingzhao were former refugees. In short, it was an amateur team meeting a professional team, fighting face to face, and the chances of winning were still unknown. I learned that there are not many Jinyue in the palace, about 1,000 people. Before Zhang Shiyu's heart fell, Gao Mu said again, there are more than 20,000 people in the western suburbs camp, and I don't know how many Jinyue people there are. 2. More than 20,000 people. Zhang Shiyu took a breath. Miss, are you worried about the prince? Ken Yun saw Zhang Shiyu staring at him in disbelief, and he asked with a smile. Why should I worry about him? I sympathize with those unarmed people who lost their lives in vain, Zhang Shiyu said lightly, but her heart was actually in a knot. He is her son's father, and he cannot lose. With him protecting her son, she can let go of her worries. She can't just sit and wait for death, she should do something. Gao Mu glared at Ken Yun, don't talk nonsense, the prince never does anything unprepared. The people who fought against the Jinyue just now were all extraordinary soldiers. The people the prince brought far exceeded the people in the western suburbs camp. The prince will win. He said to Zhang Shiyu again, all the soldiers have weapons in their hands, not unarmed. Zhang Shiyu thought for a moment. At this time, the civil and military ministers were at home, and there were probably very few people who could go to the palace to support. You two come with me. Miss, don't. Swords have no eyes. The prince deliberately sent the common people away in advance to protect everyone. What if you get hurt when you go? Ken Yun's face changed drastically and he hurriedly stopped her. Ken Yun is right. The two sides are fighting fiercely at this time. Miss is waiting for good news from the prince in the mansion. I will go to find out the situation of the battle, Gao Mu said as he pretended to jump onto the wall again. Zhang Shiyu grabbed his arm and said, aren't you going to the palace gate? Take me to the residence of Lord Du, the minister of the Dali Temple. What do you want to do with the minister of the Dali Temple? They are all the emperor's henchmen. At this time, the civil and military officials dare not approach the palace. The court ministers will definitely gather together to think of countermeasures and analyze the current situation. Mrs. Analysis is not unreasonable, but if you go, those people may not listen to your good advice. Gao Mu was also worried. Let's try. It's better than doing nothing. Miss, don't leave the house. Gao Mu and I can go to support the prince. Ken Yun knew clearly that although the prince gave him and Gao Mu to the girl, if the girl and the young master had any mishap, the prince would hold them responsible. In front of thousands of troops, the two of you going to support is just a drop in the bucket. Don't talk nonsense, follow me to the Du mansion. Zhang Shiyu interrupted Ken Yun and walked quickly to the corner gate. The Du mansion was not far from the Zhang mansion. After leaving the corner gate, the three of them took the alleys. There was no one in the streets and alleys, and there were faint sounds of fighting from the east. Occasionally, when passing by a house, there was a cry of a child in the house. Arriving at the Du mansion, Gao Mu went forward and knocked on the door. "Who?" the doorman asked from the door. "It's me, Zhang Shiyu. May I ask if Miss Du has gone to bed?" "Oh, I know. She's the female doctor at Jishatang," the doorman said as he opened the door beside him. "Miss Zhang, please come in. Miss Du just came to the hall for a walk and has returned to the backyard now." The three of them entered the door. The doorman looked out nervously and hurriedly closed the door again. "A lot of people came to the mansion tonight, right?" "How did you know?" The doorman realized that he had said the wrong thing after he finished speaking. He hurriedly added, "All the people who came are from the Du family. I heard that the palace was surrounded by the people of the Prince of Yan'an. Everyone was afraid, so they came to the mansion to be brave together. You can hear the roar of killing from a long distance away. It's quite scary. Look, I'm here to seek refuge with Miss Du." Zhang Shiyu's voice had just fallen when there was another knock on the door. A maid came forward to take Zhang Shiyu to see Miss Du. Hearing the knock on the door, Zhang Shiyu deliberately slowed down her pace. The door opened again, and Zhang Shiyu's eyes lit up. "Master Zhen." "Miss Zhang." Seeing Zhen Jingxiu's puzzled eyes, Zhang Shiyu smiled lightly. "I'm here to see Miss Du." Zhen Jingxiu nodded slightly. He couldn't say that Lord Du invited his grandfather to the mansion to discuss the current situation, and his grandfather couldn't refuse, so he just sent him to show his face. The servant led Gao Mu, Kang Yun, and Zhen Jingxiu's servant to the side hall. The two walked towards the hanging flower gate at the same time. Inside the hanging flower gate is the corridor. If you want to see Du Yutong, you have to go to the backyard along the right side of the corridor. A servant led Zhen Jingxiu to the corridor on the left. "Master Zhen, please stay." "Miss Zhang, do you have anything else to tell me?" "I'm from Yan'an. If there's anything you want to know, I'll tell you everything I know." Zhen Jingxiu understood and bowed, saying, "Understood." Zhang Shiyu returned the greeting generously, turned around and followed the maid to the backyard. She was sure that most of the officials had never left the capital. They were sitting together and discussing things as if they were just talking on paper. Someone would be sent to invite her over soon. Zhen Jingxiu watched the beautiful figure disappear at the end of the corridor. His eyes flashed slightly, and he thought to himself that Miss Zhang meant what she said and was definitely not a casual remark. Originally coming with Dian Mao's thoughts in mind, Zhen Jingxiu was in a happy mood at this time and his steps were a little brisk. In the backyard, Du Yutong saw Zhang Shiyu and was so happy that he stepped forward and took Zhang Shiyu's hand. "Sister Zhang, it's great that you're here. I was thinking about you just now. It's really blessed by the Bodhisattva. Everything I want can come true." Zhang Shiyu patted the back of her hand. "I'm usually too busy to see you. Today I went home very early, so I thought I'd come over and have a look at you before you fell asleep." "Then does the medicine work? Does your stomach still hurt?" Du Yutong affectionately pulled Zhang Shiyu to sit on the soft couch and touched her abdomen with her hand. "Sister Jiang's prescription is really effective. After I drank it, my stomach no longer hurts. Don't eat cold food before menstruation from now on, otherwise it will be difficult for your children to get married." Du Yutong took Zhang Shiyu's arm, with a shy look on her face. "If I don't get married, Sister Zhang, can you be my sister-in-law? If I don't get married, you can allow me to be an old girl at home for the rest of my life." Zhang Shiyu glared at her. "Silly girl, there are so many good men, how can Wei Mingzhou scare you like this? Stop promoting your brother in the future. Your brother is not my type." Du Yutong refused and said, "My eldest brother is not your type. I also have cousins in my family. There are more than 20 cousins, big and small, for you to choose from. If you want to recruit a son-in-law, my concubine will also become." "Stop it, your concubine has just tied his hair. You are immoral or not? If you are willing to let it go, can I do it?" Miss Zhang, Master Du invites you. The two were playing around when the maid's announcement sounded outside the door. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix. After being expelled from the palace, she returned with her cub and amazed the whole city. Author, Hanggu. Chapter 127. My father is looking for you. What does he want to do? Du Yutong jumped up from the soft couch. Zhang Shuyu responded and turned to pull Du Yutong. Why are you excited? Your father knows that I am from Yan'an, so he must ask me about things in Yan'an. Du Yutong's nervous expression disappeared immediately, and he pouted, That's good, I'm afraid that my father's lack of etiquette will offend you. Zhang Shuyu understood that in this damn era, it was common for nobles from aristocratic families to have concubines about the same age as their own children. In addition, Zhang Shuyu is beautiful and beautiful. In the eyes of others, she is just a medical woman with superb medical skills. She is likely to be coveted by people who do not know their abilities. Sister Yutong, where are you thinking? My uncle is a very powerful minister, so he is naturally knowledgeable about etiquette. Don't think too much, rest early, and we will meet again when the outside world is settled. Zhang Shuyu caressed Du Yutong's back, took a step and walked out. Du Yutong hurriedly caught up, Sister Zhang, after tonight, will my father still be the minister of Dali Temple? Zhang Shuyu stopped and turned around and asked, Sister, do you want the sun and the moon to change, or do you want everything to remain the same? After Du Yutong successfully broke off the engagement, she and Zhang Shuyu had met several times, and each time the two of them would have a short chat about everything from their parents to the world. People outside the capital were displaced. After the drought, Zhang Shuyu told her everything she saw and heard on the way out. How can a girl who has lived in a honeypot since childhood know what hunger is? When she heard that a woman had committed herself to others for a little rice, she realized that in the outside world, how humble some people were just to survive. How could Du Yutong, a boudoir girl, think so much? Zhang Shuyu asked. She was stunned for a while, raised her eyebrows and sighed, My father has invited many colleagues to come to the house tonight. I am afraid that when the new emperor comes to power, my father will no longer be the minister of Dali Temple. I don't want to live a life of wandering. Zhang Shuyu smiled lightly, You are right. Once the emperor and his courtiers come to power, and the new emperor comes to power, those who go against him will definitely not be reused. You have also heard, how many people have been saved by King Yan'an and the Crown Prince. For such a benevolent king, it would be wise to abandon the old master and follow him. Zhang Shuyu's words were clear enough. Du Yutong suddenly said, Thank you, Sister Zhang, for your advice. I will have breakfast with my parents tomorrow morning. My sister is a blessed person. I believe Master Du will make the right choice. Sister Zhang is my lucky star. I can sleep well tonight. In another courtyard of the Du family, the mulionid windows are brightly lit. From a distance, I could see the figures reflected in the window moving back and forth. As soon as he entered the courtyard gate, he saw a tall figure walking down the corridor. It's Zhen Jingxiu. Don't be afraid, Miss Zhang. I will accompany you in. Lord Du and several ministers want to know more about King Yan'an. It was Jingxiu who recommended you rashly. Please don't blame me, girl. Facing Zhen Jingxiu, who is more mature and polite than her actual age, Zhang Shuyu suddenly thought of Su Hui. They are both talented and handsome, both talented in literature and strict in etiquette. They are a good match. His thoughts came back to him in a flash, his eyes sparkling. Zhang Shuyu bowed slightly, Young master, you don't have to be polite. It's a little girl's honor to be able to answer your questions. The people in the room heard the conversation in the corridor and immediately stopped arguing. Zhen Jingxiu let Zhang Shuyu into the house. More than a dozen pairs of eyes in the room glanced over at him. Zhang Shuyu's eyes quickly passed over the crowd, and she saluted Du Zhong, who was standing above him. Long blessings to Uncle Du. He then blessed the rest of the people in the room and said, "Blessings, my lords. This is Miss Zhang that I mentioned to everyone. She comes from Yan'an and lives next to Zhenfu. Today I happened to meet Miss Zhang and came to visit Miss Du." Zhen Jingxiu made an introduction, and his respectful and polite attitude towards Zhang Shuyu was beyond words. Everyone could see that this woman was not simple. Being able to gain the respect of the King Liu family and having a good relationship with the Du family girl, everyone stood up and returned the favor. Du Zhong naturally heard his wife talk about Guo Zhangshuyu. He nodded slightly and said, "Miss Zhang and my little daughter are close friends. Please don't be polite and sit down." Zhangshuyu sat near the door, and Zhen Jingxiu also sat down a few feet away from her. Although Du Zhong returned home and changed into his official robe, he had a dignified appearance and his eyes contained cold stars. Perhaps he was soaked in the execution chamber of Dali Temple all day long, but the aura he exuded was also frightening. The rest of the officials said nothing. No matter how many questions they had in their minds, it was hard to stare at a woman for a long time. This was the first time Du Zhong saw Zhang Shuyu. Her demeanor was elegant and generous, her eyes were firm, confident, and full of aura, which was different from other women in the boudoir. With her alluring appearance and extraordinary temperament, no matter how he looked at her, he felt that the person sitting opposite her did not look like a female doctor. "Miss Zhang, Uncle Du won't beat you around the bush. Everyone has no idea about today's situation. Everyone has heard about King Yannan's reputation. The one who came to Beijing is the Crown Prince of Yan'an. I wonder how much the girl knows about the Xiao family." Du Zhong spoke, and everyone agreed, "Yes. We are all civil servants, and the throne has changed hands. If someone messes around, Wanling Kingdom will be over." They just had to believe this. Zhang Shuyu had a clear mind about what it meant to be a family, a country, and a world. What they all cared about was the black gauze hat on their head. "My lords have lived in the capital for a long time, so naturally you know the emperor better than I do. The capital city is prosperous, but what I saw on the way to the capital city is that the people are in dire straits. I wonder if you adults know that." This. Everyone did not expect that Zhang Shuyu was fearless and refused to answer questions. They are not stupid, of course they know what kind of person the emperor is. How about outside the capital? They are all civil servants. Naturally, they have seen it from the folder handed down from below. Before everyone could answer, Zhang Shuyu continued, "The people in Yan'an are wealthy and peaceful. They don't close their homes at night and don't pick up things on the road. As for what kind of person the prince is, actually, I don't know much about it." Zhen Jingxiu. Just when everyone turned their attention to Zhen Jingxiu, Zhang Shuyu added, "My family is a businessman, and I have never seen local officials collecting a penny of tax money indiscriminately. The refugees were homeless and displaced. The prince's relief and resettlement cost more than 100,000 yuan people." Hearing that the current epidemic did not occur in Yan'an, the prince quickly researched a prescription and bought out the medicinal materials in Yan'an and sent them to the victims, so that widespread deaths did not occur. "If the person here is Prince Yan'an, what step can you take?" Zhang Shuyu's tone was calm, but her eyes were looking over the crowd aggressively. All the officials were people who had been to the court. The little girl was eloquent, her every word was exquisite, and she exuded a righteous and awe-inspiring aura. Everyone already knows what kind of person the crown prince is. What he said made the officials present look ashamed, and they all expressed their feelings. It turns out that the epidemic did not spread to the capital because of the prince's credit. I didn't expect that the prince would have such a big heart. This is what a wise king does. Ashamed. we are ashamed of ourselves.